Is democracy in danger? Tech elites, the Dark Enlightenment, and the new anti-democrats. I no longer believe that freedom and democracy are compatible. Peter Thiel, billionaire tech investor. In recent years, some of the most powerful people in the world, tech billionaires, political philosophers, and government leaders, have begun to question the basic assumption of modern civilization, that democracy is the best form of government. As strange as it sounds, democracy, the idea that ordinary people should govern themselves, may be falling out of fashion, especially among the elites who build the systems we all rely on. Is democracy in danger? And if so, what might replace it? Let's start with some historical perspective. Democracy, ruled by the people, emerged in ancient Athens over 2500 years ago. Back then it was direct. Citizens met, debated and voted. But only a small portion of the population had the right to participate. Over time, especially after the Enlightenment, democracy evolved. Thinkers like John Locke, Montesquieu and Rousseau championed the ideas of liberty, separation of powers, and popular sovereignty. These ideas influenced revolutions, the American, the French, and eventually reshaped the political order of much of the world. In the 20th century, democracy triumphed over fascism in the Second World War and communism in the Cold War. By 1992, political theorist Francis Fukuyama declared the end of history, arguing that liberal democracy had won the ideological war. Many believed it was only a matter of time before every nation became democratic, but today that triumph feels less certain. The Weimar Republic in Germany was one of the world's most progressive democracies, on paper. It had universal suffrage, proportional representation and civil rights. But the economic depression, hyperinflation and political polarization led to deep distrust in democratic institutions. That vacuum of trust allowed Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party to rise legally through elections, then dismantle democracy from within. The last 2 decades have revealed deep cracks in democracy's foundation. Populist movements have surged across Europe, the US and Latin America. Mistrust in politicians and institutions has reached historical heights. In many places, voters are deeply polarized, elections are contested, and basic democratic norms like accepting results or respecting the rule of law are under strain. Freedom House, an organization that tracks global democracy, has reported steady declines in civil liberties and political rights worldwide for over 17 years straight. So what's filling the void? Enter the Dark Enlightenment, a movement you've probably never heard of, but whose fingerprints are increasingly visible in Silicon Valley and elite political circles. The term comes from British philosopher and blogger Nick Land. In the early 2000s, Land began writing a series of radical critiques of liberal democracy. His argument was that democracy creates chaos. It gives too much power to the masses and not enough to the most competent individuals. It leads to decay, stagnation, and moral weakness. Land proposed something shocking, that instead of trying to fix democracy, we should abandon it. Replace voting with algorithmic decision-making. Trade parliaments for CEOs, or even bring back monarchy. Yes, really. Plato, in the Republic, warned that democracy could descend into mob rule and eventually tyranny. He argued that governance should be left to philosopher kings, wise elites chosen not by the masses, but for their reason and virtue. This idea evolved into a broader movement sometimes called the neo-reactionary movement, or NRX. One of its best-known voices is Curtis Yarvin, also known as Mencius Moldbach. Yarvin argues that democracy is a failed experiment and that sometimes functions better when government is centralized, non-democratic authority, like a corporation or CEO king. Yarvin's writings, once considered fringe, have found surprising supporters among powerful people. He's had private conversations with the US senators. His ideas circulate in elite tech and political networks. Why are these ideas so popular in Silicon Valley? Start with culture. Tech elites often see themselves as a visionary problem solvers held back by slow, irrational systems like bureaucracy, regulation, or yes, democracy. Democracy, they argue, moves too slowly for the pace of technological progress. It panders to voters instead of promoting competence. It enforces equality at the cost of excellence. Peter Thiel, one of the most outspoken critics, co-founded PayPal, Palantir, and was an early investor in Facebook. He's funded experiments in libertarian cities at sea, called seastates, where governance could be privatized. He's also backed politicians who share his skepticism of democratic institutions. Then there is Balaji Srinivasan, a former Coinbase executive, who proposed the idea of the network state, a digital-first, borderless society governed by voluntary contracts, non-democratic institutions. Elon Musk has also shown a preference for centralized control. His takeover of Twitter, now X, was framed as a crusade for free speech, but critics say it's centralized control of a public square in the hands of one man. What all these thinkers and entrepreneurs share is a deep unease with democratic decision-making. They want speed, control, and order, not votes, debates, and compromise. But it's not just Silicon Valley. Around the world, more governments are experimenting with post-democratic models. These regimes maintain the appearance of democracy, elections, parliaments, media, but not in practice, because power is highly centralized. After a US-backed military coup, General Augusto Pinochet overthrew Chile's elected Marxist president Salvador Allende. Pinochet suspended the constitution, dissolved Congress, and ruled as a military dictator. Yet under advice from the Chicago Boys, economists trained under Milton Friedman, he introduced sweeping neoliberal reforms. Some argued he brought economic order at the cost of democracy and human rights. This mirrors some elite arguments today, that order and growth may require suspending democratic processes. Lee Kuan Yew turned Singapore from a poor colony into a global economic powerhouse, but he did so through a semi-authoritarian model, strict limits on press freedom, political opposition, and public dissent. Singapore is often cited by techno-authoritarians as a smart dictatorship, efficient, clean, and stable. This model appeals to tech elites who value efficiency over deliberation. Take Hungary under Viktor Orban. He proudly calls his regime an illiberal democracy. Courts, media, and universities have been brought under state control. Elections still happen, but the outcome is rarely in doubt. Even China, with its mix of capitalism and authoritarian control, is being looked at by some in the West as an efficient alternative. After Mao's death, China embraced market reforms under Deng Xiaoping, but without political liberalization. Today, China combines surveillance, central planning, and AI-based governance in ways that fascinate some technocrats in the West. People like Eric Schmidt, former Google CEO, have acknowledged that China's model is deeply competitive with Western democracies in AI and infrastructure. Its tech-savvy surveillance state and 5-year plans offer a contrast to the chaotic, sometimes paralyzed democracies of the West. The trend is clear. More power is concentrated in fewer hands. Whether it's in the name of efficiency, tradition, or innovation, democracy is being sidelined. So is democracy doomed? Not so fast. Despite the setbacks, democracy has shown remarkable resilience. In countries from Chile to Taiwan, young people have mobilized for reform, transparency, and human rights. Courts and journalists have pushed back against autocrats, and in many places, voters still believe that their voices matter. Digital tools, for all their risks, have also empowered new forms of activism. From Reddit organizing against Wall Street to student protests organized on TikTok, democratic participation is evolving, not vanishing. Even in tech circles, not everyone buys the hype about exit and elitism. Critics argue that privatized governance would be unaccountable and dangerous. Who holds a CEO kid responsible when things go wrong? What happens when ordinary people can't afford to exit the system? So here's the big question. If democracy is in danger, what replaces it? Will we drift into a world of corporate kingdoms, algorithmic governance, and digitally fragmented societies? Or can we reinvent democracy to be faster, fairer, and more resilient in the face of the 21st century's challenges? The truth is, democracy has never been perfect, but it has one great strength, the ability to self-correct. The challenge now is whether we still believe in that promise. Let's return to the quote we started with. I no longer believe that freedom and democracy are compatible. It's a provocative claim, but is it true? Maybe the better question is this. If democracy is flawed, who gets to decide what replaces it? A philosopher, a billionaire, an algorithm, or still you? Thanks for watching. If you found this interesting, give it a like, share it with a friend, and let us know in the comments. Is democracy in danger? And what would you do to defend it?